Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the top candidates for the Norris Trophy. Now, again, we're only through 25% of the season, but there's already some questions about who could win some awards this year. Now, if you guys don't know, the Norris Trophy goes to the best overall defenseman in the NHL for that season, and there's a couple of pretty good candidates. We'll be going over them right now. So to start things off, we're going to go with the bottom to the top. So we have from 10 to 1. Now, I do want to give some credit to the Instagram account NHL Discussion. They gave me the analysis of these guys. So I'm going off of that. But I have their guys in a different order than what they have. So we're going to start off with number 10, and that is the Washington Capitals' Nick Jensen. Now, Nick Jensen has got 12 points through 22 games, so he's not a super prolific defenseman, but again, as a defenseman, I mean, those are actually pretty good numbers. He's scoring every other game as a defenseman. Now, I remember when the Capitals signed Nick Jensen, a lot of heads were scratched about why they would take Nick Jensen and the value that he provided. It was a very questionable move at the time, but he has been a very good player for the Caps, and he's kind of just done his work. You watch him, he's a good defenseman when you watch him, and he's a guy that nobody's really talking about, even in Washington. You're talking about Justin Schultz, you're talking about Dmitry Orlov, you're talking about John Carlson, and Nick Jensen becomes an afterthought. He reminds me a lot of Adam Pelech with the Islanders, a very underrated defenseman that just plays his game. He's very hard to play against. You have to give credit where it's due. Nick Jensen is definitely in that conversation. He's at number 10. And number 9 is the Toronto Maple Leafs pending unrestricted free agent no longer. Morgan Riley has signed a contract to stay with the Maple Leafs, and he is also in the conversation to win the Norris Trophy. Now, I don't know how far into this process he's really going to get. I don't know if he's going to be one of the 3 finalists. He probably should have waited to sign that extension, though. Morgan Riley is having a great season with the Leafs. He's got 17 points in 23 games with the Leafs, and he's been a very prolific offensive defenseman. And Morgan Riley has been kind of the scapegoat in Toronto for a couple of years since they've gotten rid of Dion Phaneuf and Jake Gardiner. Morgan Riley kind of became the next man up to be the scapegoat, but he's really taken that and opportunity of being one of the big defensemen on this team and has just embraced it. He's playing a lot of minutes under Sheldon Keefe. Keefe has a lot of trust in him, and he's on the power play. Morgan Riley has really developed into the defenseman that the Leafs were hoping they would get back in, I believe it was the 2010 or 2012 NHL draft. Morgan Riley has been a gem for the Maple Leafs, and it's a great thing that they got him locked up long term. He's at number 9 in our rankings. All right, so at number 8 is the Ottawa Senators. You're probably thinking, why are the Senators in this? Well, I mean, he's pretty much the team for the Senators. He's one of the top 10 defenseman leaders in terms of minutes played per night, and that means we're talking about Thomas Chabot. Thomas Chabot doesn't have the offensive flair like Nick Jensen and Morgan Riley like we just talked about. He only has 8 points in 19 games with the Senators, but this is nowhere near the same level of teams that the Capitals and the Leafs are at in terms of defensemen picking up extra points because their team is just that good in front of him. Now, he doesn't have any goals this year. Those are all those 8 points are assists, which means there is some play from the forwards. When he makes that breakout pass to the forward, they do score some goals, but he has yet to score one himself yet this season. It's not about that, though, for Chabot. This is a defenseman that is just an unbelievable skater. He's always on the ice in the most important minutes of the game. Penalty kill, power play. He's on for basically 4.5 of the final 5 minutes of any given period. This is the guy in Ottawa. And I know everybody loves Brady Tkachuk in Ottawa. He's a great captain there. But Thomas Chabot, man, is so narrowly close second. He is just such a big piece of this team moving forward and has pretty much taken the role from Erik Karlsson in terms of being that number 1 D-man in Ottawa. I know Senators fans don't like me saying that name. I probably said a curse word there for Sens fans, but Thomas Chabot has been an absolutely great defenseman for the Senators. And that's at number 8. Now at number 7, we go down to Charlie Mcavoy over with the Boston Bruins. The Bruins are having a really impressive season right now, and they're one of those teams that I could see maybe sneaking up on a team in that Atlantic Division, maybe the Leafs, the Lightning, or the Panthers, in terms of maybe stealing one of those top 3 spots in the Atlantic. The Boston Bruins have been just keeping business going as usual. And again, a guy that's had to replace a big body and guys like Chara leaving and Krug, Charlie Mcavoy has taken that role as the number 1 D-man in Boston. He's got 14 points in 19 games. Most of those are assists, but he has 3 goals on the year, 11 points, not too bad. But the Bruins are really doing well right now, and a lot of that is because of Charlie Mcavoy on the blue line. He's a really tough guy to play against. He's tough in the corners, tough in front of the net. This is that big, bad Bruins defenseman that they have always wanted, and Charlie Mcavoy is definitely a great example of that. And that's at number 7, I believe, right? 10, 9, 8, and now we're up to, 10, 9, 8, 7. Yeah, so he's number 7 on our list. And that means we're getting down to number 6 on our list, and that is the Florida Panthers, one of 2 defensemen here in our top 6, and that's Mackenzie Wieger. Mackenzie Wieger, man, he's had 2 really good seasons with the Florida Panthers, and he is a huge part of the reason, or he's a huge reason to the success of the Florida Panthers over these last 2 years in their run. He's got 12 points in 22 games. He's always been more known as a defensive defenseman. Now, let's not get it twisted. His 12 points, he does not have a goal yet this season. You could argue that a lot of those points are coming from passing the puck up to Huberdeau, or Barkov, or Reinhart, or Vetrano, or Bennett, or who else? I mean, literally, I can name off a dozen players that are playing well right now in the Sunshine State for the Panthers. Mackenzie Wieger is a lot more different than these other guys, though. Yes, he has some points to his name, not necessarily goals, but he has points. He's also a punishing, hitting defenseman, not afraid to drop the gloves, and that's what makes Mackenzie Wieger a little bit of the pink cow out of this top 10, as he adds more of that edge than some of these other defensemen, because most of these other defensemen, they rely on their points for their productivity. That's not necessarily the case for Mackenzie Wieger. His stats are good, but you're looking at him more as that defensive defenseman. But the fact that he has grown his offensive game and become more of an offensive threat, maybe more as a passing defenseman to the guy up front, but they're getting points. And Mackenzie Wieger, you could smell the confidence coming from him. He is just at a different level right now for the Florida Panthers. So that means at number 5, we head to Carolina as the Carolina Hurricanes. Man, there was a lot of questions down in Carolina this offseason. They traded their first-round pick, Jake Bean, up to Columbus. Dougie Hamilton gets let go. He signs with the New Jersey Devils. They made some changes on the blue line, but they seem to be better off since those moves. That's why at number 5, we're talking about Tony DeAngelo. The kid that was left for dead with the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Tampa Bay Lightning drafted him from the Sarnia Sting in the OHL. Things weren't working out. Had a bit of an attitude with Yzerman. He gets shipped out. He ends up going to the New York Rangers, playing pretty well with the Rangers. Obviously, there was some locker room issues. May or may not have got his face punched in by Chris Kreider. But now in Carolina,